It's Terminator time all over again, with the battle between AI and humans raging on with the advent of Chat GPT. Has it become fashionable to become doomsday prophecies every time a giant leap is made in technology, especially in AI? Or has the world of jobs fundamentally changed with the latest innovations in AI? Let's close the loop on this. Joining me on this episode of Close the Loop is a very senior HR leader. Started his career with companies like Tata Steel and IBM, transitioned to head HR for new age companies like Big Basket, Taxi for Sure. Please join me in welcoming T.N. Hari to the show.
Thank you, Srini. Thanks for having me.
So Hari, to start off, I saw a post on LinkedIn where someone had shared a picture of a bunch of accountants who were protesting the advent of the calculator. And they said that the calculator is going to take away our jobs.
Yes.
But today, accountants remain, but calculators have sort of gone away. So why is it that every major advance in technology always leads to this fear of job loss?
So, Srini, I think, if you go back to industrial revolution, right from those days, last 250 years, technology has been the biggest job creation engine in the history of mankind. But having said that, in shorter time frames and in specific pockets, tech innovation tends to kill a few jobs. And because it disrupts families and stable individuals, this gets all the eyeballs. Nobody really talks about tech creating jobs because that's seen as part of the natural economic growth and not worth highlighting. And every time this has happened, computerization, for example, in banks, people thought, all the bank clerks would lose their jobs, employees would lose their jobs. And you don't have to have just computer science related technology. Even, for example, when steam engines, steam locomotives came. They thought they will kill all the jobs in the horse carriage industry.
Right.
But nothing of that happened. Right. But it's worth discussing as we progress, I think. So I think it's misplaced fear, mostly misplaced fear.
Right. And it seems fairly paradoxical in a way. Technological advancement increases productivity and productivity reduces jobs, right? So people can't really wrap their head around that. So why do we need that innovation to continue?
So let me just, classify all technology innovation into two broad buckets. I'm oversimplifying and I'll explain why I'm oversimplifying. One type of technology innovation results in increase in productivity, which is an existing problem which is already being solved, be solved more efficiently. Second category of innovations are those which help us solve a new category of problems which have never been solved before. For example, a lot of medical innovation. CT scans, MRI, for example, right? They're helping us solve problems which we never were able to solve before these innovations came around our way. Now, I would say, and the reason why I said it's simplistic is because you don't know at what point of time a productivity improvement innovation will become an innovation that helps us solve new problems. Take the example of dynamite, right? It helped increase labor productivity very significantly. And we thought, we won't need all these people to build roads and rails. But then it helped man dream very differently. Man thought, I can create a water bridge between the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea in the form of a Suez Canal.
Right.
And that canal could not have been connected without, done without dynamite.
Correct.
A Bhakra Nangal Dam couldn't have been built without dynamite. So the moment you see yourself as a pie, there's an existing pie of economic activity and an innovation is going to increase productivity and hence I'll need lesser number of people to do the same kind of work. I think is wrong because human needs are infinitely elastic. A particular need, the moment it's fulfilled, man begins to dream or desire completely different things.
Right.
So the needs are unlimited. Look at the spinning machines, for example, right? Weavers were out of business. Yes, in the short term, many weavers were out of business. But what these machines did was they reduced the cost of clothing so much that the whole world could afford to get clothed.
Right.
So I think many of these innovations might begin as productivity improvement innovations, may result in some job losses temporarily, but in the longer time frame, all these innovations invariably increase employment. And the reason why this happens, the fundamental reason is because human needs are unlimited and infinitely elastic. So the moment you begin to believe that human needs are limited and they can be solved more efficiently by an innovation, then you would tend to believe that it will kill jobs.
Right.
But if you believe that the pie itself is expanding, then you will realize very quickly that, more and more jobs get created.
So I think what you're trying to talk about is, of course, we are looking at a lot of these things in hindsight. But what happens is that in the moment, when let's say when Chat GPT came out and OpenAI released that, and now they've released number 4, and people are saying that what you're seeing today is like the rotor phone equivalent, and there's an iPhone that's coming a few years down the line. So is there a more healthy way for let's say people who are in the here and the now, and they're looking at it, the way they're reacting to this, what's a healthy way to react to something like OpenAI and Chat GPT?
See, I think the only healthy way to react is not to panic. So I think AI has been around for several decades. Right. It has been dormant pretty much. From time to time, there is an interest. When there's an innovation, there is an interest. But after some time, when the promise is not met, it dies down.
Right.
I think currently we are in hype phase of Chat GPT. Correct. Very clearly, everybody is posting something every day. But I'm not sure if anybody is seriously afraid that their particular jobs will go away. Probably those who are creating content at this point of time are a little worried, that Chat GPT can, take away my job. But my own sense is that just like computers never took away jobs, right. Medical innovation never took away jobs. It helped doctors perform procedures that were never performed in the past.
Right.
I think Chat GPT will help us do things that we have not been able to do in the past. It will help create, for example, first drafts of many documents.
Right.
But it still needs people who can then look at these documents and tweak them and refine them. I think it will largely be a tool. Right. Which will help people become more effective. Like, for example, Excel is a productivity tool. PPT is a productivity tool.
Right.
There's so many productivity tools. They help us, put
not
data.
Spend time on
not spend time.
And also the other thing that people don't consider is the promise of AI is not always right. I think there are many things that AI claims to do and different forms of it.
Correct.
And I think you've called it out in the past. So what are your thoughts on sort of calling BS on some of the things that AI thinks it can do or people think AI can do?
There was a professor at Princeton. I don't exactly remember. His first name was Arvind. I think he brings out beautifully that AI can be largely clubbed into three buckets. The first bucket is where AI has made some real progress, has solved real problems and is real. So for example, reverse image recognition, facial recognition, any kind of image recognition, medical diagnosis using scans. All of these are real possibilities already happening. Correct. So AI is being used very effectively in some of these areas. The second bucket is AI is being used, but still it is not as effective as one would like it to be. For example, detection of spam, detection of hate speech, detection of fake news, for example. These are all areas where improvements need to be made, but it's possible to make.
Right.
The third category is really where snake oil is being sold as AI. That's, for example, in being able to predict career success, professional success in life, how a child would do 20 years from now, for instance. It's in being able to predict whether a person after serving a jail sentence will go back to being a criminal or not. It's about whether an employee will leave a company or not, figuring out using AI.
Sort of forecasting the
forecasting. To me, I think that is all BS. So for instance, there was a AI vendor, who came to me and told me, for example, that we have a AI tool that will be able to figure out criminal tendencies in an individual. And it made sense to me, interesting to me, because at Big Basket, all our delivery boys enter the customer homes. Right. So we don't want anyone to be, potentially a criminal, right?
Yes.
So I was listening. So he told me it can predict with 70% accuracy whether a person has criminal tendencies or not. Then another data point, if you take a look at that, then you realize how meaningless this claim is. The criminal tendency in society is just 1%, which is that 1 in 100 people only demonstrate criminal tendencies.
Right.
Now take a group of 100 people, administer this test to them. Because of a 30% error rate, it will tell you that 30 people are criminals. Because 99 are not criminals, it will apply this test.
Right.
And 30% error rate means 30 are criminals. So look at the accuracy. 1 is a real criminal, but the test tells you is 30 are criminals, 31. Which means the error rate is 98%. It is not 30%. So if you dive false claims, if you dive a little deeper, and the reason many of them are getting away with these false claims is that nobody deeply understands enough to question them sufficiently.
Right.
I'll give you another example, and this is a very reputed company, very reputed individual. So Ginny Rometty, who was the CEO at IBM, in an interview on CNBC, made a claim, which is IBM AI can predict with 95% accuracy whether an employee is going to leave you or not. To me, that is a fake claim and highly exaggerated. And it qualifies under the BS category to me. And the reason is very simple. You must have heard of the butterfly effect, right?
Yes, the chaos.
So basically what happens is most systems, linear systems, a small change in the input parameter results in a small change in the output parameter. But in non-linear systems, even a small change in the input parameter can result in huge swings on the output parameters. It's metaphorically, if a butterfly, flaps its wings in the Amazon,
right. Then you have rainfall
in the Pacific, for example. So anybody who can make such a claim saying that using the butterfly flutter, I can predict the cyclone in the Pacific is bullshitting, right?
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting because I think we sort of get caught up in this feeding frenzy, especially on LinkedIn, where employees are getting scared.
Yeah.
Like, for example, anyone in those 20, 30 job roles that Chat GPT claims to displace are nervous today. And in fact, I've had people tell me that, do we need content writers? Why don't we just pay for the subscription to Chat GPT? So what should be like an ideal response for an employer to, let's say, what is real in AI today? Okay, let's put aside what's BS, but what is really possible in AI today? How should an employer react to it? How should an employee react to it?
So I think, the only way to react is not to overreact, which is allow a technology to unfold. So what is happening is currently we don't even know what AI can do, Chat GPT can do and cannot do. So I think it's important not to panic, not to overreact, and allow this to unfold and begin to see how it plays out. Then you will figure out what is real and what is not real. There will be some short-term job losses because companies that are under cost pressure will try and see if they can replace content writers with a Chat GPT subscription. But over the long run, Chat GPT will find uses that we have never been able to imagine.
Right.
So at this point of time, we really have no idea how it's likely to unfold. So I think it's helpful not to worry too much about it.
The other area to consider is the risks involved, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, it might be fashionable or maybe even beneficial in the short term to say, fine, let's just get all our content, or let's just get whatever the platform is capable of. Let's get all our emails written by ChatGPT, or let's use all the plugins that are coming out and all that. So you're essentially, it's another form of outsourcing. Instead of outsourcing to a person, you're outsourcing to this engine. What are some of the inherent risks there? Do it.
Yeah. Good question. So I think, I'll respond to this, but I'm not too happy about using the word outsourcing in this context, and I'll tell you why. For example, 1969, when, the first man landed on moon, the computers were a bit primitive, right? But ever since, there have been continuous improvements. And a lot of the things that have been done in the space program, for example, cannot be done with without the kind of computing power that we have. Is it right to say we have outsourced all our decisions, mission control decisions, to computers? The answer is outsourcing is not the right term. The reason is because outsourcing is when you can do it yourself, but you neither have the time or, for example, you probably can't do it as efficiently.
Correct.
That's when you outsource it, but you know how to do it.
Isn't that what we are doing here?
No, but here I think, you just can't do what MRI is doing. You just cannot do it.
Right.
What the computers are doing in manipulating the space flight.
But you can do it with ChatGPT.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you as a human cannot do it.
Right.
So many of these technologies are doing what you as humans can never do. It might take 1 trillion years to do what a computer can do in minutes, for example, right? So that to me is not outsourcing. You are just doing new kinds of things. That's the way I would see it, because these technologies are helping us do things which we can never do otherwise. So fly-by-wire, for example, right, in fighter aircraft, whether it's an F-16 or Rafale, any kind of aircraft, it's all fly-by-wire.
Right.
In a way, you are outsourcing that to technology. What pilots used to manually do in the past, now technology is doing it. But it's able to do, you're able to, achieve, things that you could never do in the days when the flights were controlled manually.
Correct.
So you're just able to do new things altogether.
So I think the latest wisdom that's developing on LinkedIn is AI is not going to take away your job. People who know how to use AI will take away your job. So do you think that's a fair...
Yeah, that is, partially true for every technology, and there's a reason why it's always said, you should keep pace with new tools and new technologies.
Right.
Those who are able to keep pace with new tools and technologies, I think will continue to be relevant.
Right.
Those who can't keep pace, for example, will struggle. For example, when the car was invented, you needed to learn how to drive. If you didn't know how to drive, you couldn't possibly do a few things. So I think it's relevant to keep pace with these tools.
So Hari, as always on the show, we allow our guests to have the last word. So we started off this conversation by saying it's the Terminator time. Is it AI versus jobs, or is it it's seeming more like AI with jobs, not versus jobs? What's your take on it?
Undoubtedly, it's AI with jobs. So I think AI will continue to remain a tool. And I think mankind will be able to do many things that we have never been able to do in the past. So it's always about expanding the pie. Human needs are infinitely elastic.
Right.
AI will create new needs. It will not take away jobs, it will create new needs, and in the process will create new jobs.
Thank you, Hari, for coming on Close the Loop.
Thank you, Srini. Thanks for having me.